Hello and welcome. You're watching World 24/7 with me, Aditi Bhardwaj, and let's tell you what's happening around the world today. And also, we'll have a discussion on Sheikh Hasina is now facing a murder trial. Shocking. Well, we will dive deep into it. But before that, let's take a look at the top headlines we're tracking at this hour. Iran has dismissed calls from the UK and other Western countries to refrain from retaliation against Israel. Meanwhile, US has approved a $20 billion weapons package for Israel, while US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to visit Israel ahead of ceasefire talks. Russian President Vladimir Putin hosts Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, says he is concerned about the high number of civilians casualties in Gaza, while Palestinian President assured full support to Russia. After ouster now former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to face murder trial, court orders probe Hasina and 6 others named in the case. Days after Ukrainian attack on Kursk region, Russia an army strikes back, says thwarted Ukrainian attempt to expand incursion. Meanwhile, Biden has called for Ukraine incursion a dilemma for Putin. Canada's temporary foreign worker program under scrutiny amid UN report which says that foreign worker program is a breeding ground for slavery. Now, day after Ukrainian army took control of at least a dozen villages in Kursk, at least 28 of them, Russian forces have now struck back at Ukrainian troops with missiles, drones and airstrikes in actions. Now, Russian army's senior commander said that they have halted Ukraine's advance after the biggest attack on sovereign Russian territory since the war began. Thousands of Ukrainian soldiers smashed through the Russian border a week ago in a surprise attack that Russian President Vladimir Putin said was aimed at improving Kyiv's negotiating position ahead of possible talks and showing the advance of Russian forces along the front. Meanwhile, in his first comment on the Ukrainian incursion in Kursk, US President Joe Biden said that the Ukrainian military incursion into Russia has created a real dilemma for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Listen in.
President, what do you have to say about what's happening in Russia and Ukraine? Have you spoken with anyone in the Ukrainian government?
I've spoken with my staff on a regular basis, probably every 4 or 5 hours for the last 6 or 8 days, and it's creating a real dilemma for Putin, and we've been in direct contact, constant contact with the Ukrainians. That's all I'm going to say about it while it's active.
Now, Washington is driving efforts to bring both parties, Israel and Hamas, on the negotiating table ahead of ceasefire talks scheduled to take place tomorrow. US has called on all sides to convene for negotiations on a Gaza ceasefire, with President Biden saying he expects a deal could prompt Iran to stop its planned retaliatory attacks on Israel. Meanwhile, US State Department has approved more than $20 billion of weapons sales to Israel, including fighter jets, advanced missiles, tank shells, mortar cartridges and military vehicles. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is also likely to visit Middle East. Blinken's visit will be aimed at preventing the regional war as well.
نحن معكم فيما تعانون منه هذه الأيام من أزمات أمنية وغيرها هنا وهناك، مدفوعة من هنا وهناك. نحن نقف إلى جانب
Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin hosted Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. In the meeting, Putin said that Moscow was pained by the plight of his people and backed their aspirations to create a fully fledged state. Putin also emphasized that Moscow was paying attention to events happening in the Middle East despite the demands of its own war in Ukraine, hailing Putin. Now, Palestinian President Abbas said that Russia was one of the dearest friends of the Palestinian people and assured full support. Take a look.
فيما تعانون منه هذه الأيام من أزمات أمنية وغيرها هنا وهناك مدفوعة من هنا وهناك. نحن نقف إلى جانب روسيا الاتحادية بلا أدنى شك.
Now, ahead of Israel-Hamas ceasefire talks, Iran has completely dismissed calls from the UK and other Western countries to refrain from retaliation against Israel for the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran last month. Amid a flurry of international diplomacy to de-escalate the tensions, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer urged Iranian president to stand down its ongoing threats of a military attack in a rare telephonic conversation on Monday. But now, Iran has completely made it clear that they will not back down. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali is also joining me on the phone line to discuss more on this. Iran has now, Ghazali, said that they will not de-escalate. It is their right to attack Israel after what happened with Ismail Haniyeh.
See, Iran is under diplomatic, not a diplomatic pressure, but it is facing pressure from all sides. One, it is facing Western pressure from all the Western nations who are backing Israel, asking Iran to stand down, as we heard Mr. Joe Biden say it many times when asked about whether and when Iran will respond to or launch a retaliatory attack on Israel. But Iran also has its own image problems. If Iran doesn't retaliate to what happened in Tehran last month, the killing of Ismail Haniyeh on their soil, certainly Iran will have to respond to that, because there have been multiple assassinations of people associated with Iranian government, be it IRGC commanders or their nuclear scientists or their affiliated people in Lebanon, in Yemen. And this time around, it was Ismail Haniyeh, who was from Hamas, but was attending the presidential ceremony in Tehran. So Iran is very likely to respond, but they are also playing this pressure game, or you can say the pressure tactics, by not releasing the date or by not letting anyone know that what shape the attack would be and when that attack would be. So in that particular sense, Iran is under pressure from all sides. Now, the West is trying to ask Iran or appeal Iran through back channel talks as well. And what we heard yesterday, that even UK's Prime Minister also spoke to Iranian president there, but they have all rejected any calls to de-escalate or not launch any attack on Israel.
Right. Thank you so much, Ghazali, for joining us this morning and giving those details. With that, we're slipping into a very short break, but right after the break, we'll talk about what's happening in Bangladesh.
Hi, I'm Shreya Saran. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood. Kerala needs your help right now. Let's join NDTV initiative. Come, donate. Let's rebuild Wayanad.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
this Independence Day, watch Jai Jawan with me, John Abraham, only on NDTV. Jai Jawan!
ये जोश पे चलते हैं हमारे जवान यहाँ पर, अदरवाइज ऐसी जगहों पे जीवन ही बहुत मुश्किल है।
Landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hi, I'm Shreya Saran. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood.
Now, Bangladesh's deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and 6 others, including 2 senior ministers of her cabinet and the sacked police chief, would face trial on murder charges. A court in Bangladesh has opened the murder investigation. The murder case filed against the 76-year-old Hasina is the first so far against her since she resigned and fled to India on August 5. She and 6 others have been named over the death of a grocery shop owner during last month's violent clashes that led to the fall of her government. I'm being joined by senior journalist of Bangladesh associated with Millennium TV, Mr. Masoom Khan. Thank you so much for joining NDTV World and speaking to us. Mr. Masoom Khan, first the ouster and now a murder trial. What will be the fate of former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina?
Thank you so much, NDTV. Bangladesh all our association create Mr. SM Satil Hamza Satil have case filed Bangladesh Capital CMM Court. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and 6 high official, 2 minister and 4 police officer. Case filed Mohammadpur. CMM Chief Metro Magistrate. Investigation Mohammadpur police station, but this situation, a very critical situation. This situation, who SM Hamza Satil case filed at this time, Bangladeshi all are minority and all are Bangladeshi people ask and he say this case is very very harmful, Bangladeshi very shameful because Sheikh Hasina is popular, former Prime Minister, Awami League President of Bangladesh. This situation, Bangladesh,
right.
all are
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Masoom Khan. Meanwhile, Sheikh Hasina has also denied any responsibility in the statement that she issued and has called for a proper investigation into the killings of people. At least 300 people died in the violent clashes that broke out over the quota demand. Now shifting our focus to what's happening in Bangladesh. Bangladesh interim government's chief advisor Muhammad Yunus visited a Hindu temple amid the attacks on the community in the neighboring country ever since Sheikh Hasina resigned and left the country. He made an appeal for unity and said rights are equal for everyone. Take a look at our report.
যে এমন বাংলাদেশ আমরা করতে চাচ্ছি যেটা আমরা এক পরিবার, এটি হলো মূল জিনিস। আপনারা বলেন যে আমরা মানুষ, আমি বাংলাদেশের মানুষ, আমার সাংবিধানিক অধিকারে আমাকে দিতে হবে। সব সরকারের কাছে এটাই যাবেন, আর কিছু দেয় না।
Ever since former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled to India, her supporters and associates have faced several retaliatory attacks by violent mobs. Bangladesh's Hindu minority, which makes up just 8% of the country's population and that has traditionally backed the nation's secular party, the Awami League, have been worst affected. There have been at least 200 attacks on Hindus and other religious minorities since Hasina's sudden exit.
উনি চলে যাওয়াতে আমাদের প্রতি একটা বেশি হচ্ছে, কারণ হচ্ছে উনি আমাদেরকে অনেকটাই সাপোর্ট করতো।
The attacks range from vandalizing and looting Hindu homes and businesses to even burning or damaging Hindu temples. Yet, details still remain unclear as police have been on strike since Hasina fled the country. The rise in violence on minorities has led to thousands of Hindu refugees fleeing Bangladesh to the Indian border to seek asylum. For many, the violence has evoked painful memories as Bangladesh has a long history of violence against the Hindu minority. Several thousands more took to the streets to protest over the past week, demanding protection. The interim government formed in the aftermath of Hasina's ouster has called the violence heinous and has said that it is working with community leaders to ensure the community's safety.
আমরা এখানে মুসলিম, হিন্দু, বৌদ্ধ, খ্রিস্টান, পাহাড়ি সকল ধরনের কমিউনিটিকে সাথে নিয়ে আমাদের বাংলাদেশের মানুষের বসবাস। এখানে যে ধরনের ঘটনাগুলো ঘটতেছে সেগুলো কিন্তু যত না সাম্প্রদায়িক তার থেকে বেশি হচ্ছে রাজনৈতিক উদ্দেশ্যে সেই ঘটনাগুলোকে ঘটানো হচ্ছে। তবে আমরা মনে করি যেই এই ধরনের ঘটনার সাথে জড়িত থাকবে তাকে বিচারের আওতায় আনতে হবে এবং এখানে সংখ্যালঘু সম্প্রদায়ের প্রতিও আমাদের আহ্বান থাকবে যে আপনারা আশ্বস্ত থাকুন যে বাংলাদেশের মানুষ, বাংলাদেশের সরকার অবশ্যই আপনাদের পাশে এসে দাঁড়াবে।
Muhammad Yunus, the chief advisor of the interim government, visited the Keshwar National Temple in Dhaka and met with Hindu leaders. He asked the rights of all communities must be protected irrespective of their religion. The Nobel Peace Prize awardee also urged people to exercise patience and judge his government on the work it accomplishes. In the wake of the escalating violence, the future of Bangladesh's social fabric hangs in balance. As the interim government works to restore order, the nation's commitment to protecting all of its citizens regardless of faith will be put to the ultimate test. Samia Afsar for NDTV World.
Now, as the US heads to polls, my colleague Disha Bagchi spoke to top Indian diaspora leaders on what are the key issues for Indian Americans in this election and what a potential US economic slowdown could mean for India. Listen in.
The Indian diaspora in the US has come to the forefront in recent years, most evidently with Kamala Harris, who's now the Democrat face in the US presidential election. So to discuss the impact and the significance of the Indian diaspora in the United States, whether it comes to public service or technology or innovation, we have with us an esteemed panel of guests. So my first question to you is that, the report that Indiaspora has released has said that, 1.5% of the US population comprises of the Indian diaspora. So how crucial is the Indian diaspora vote in this upcoming election?
Well, I don't live in the US, but my impression from all that I know is that the Indian diaspora in the US punches way above its weight. So in absolute numbers, the vote may not be significant, but its ability to make an impact, to make financial contributions, to influence opinion is quite high.
No, I definitely think the impact also on the vote bank is significant because 1.5% in a country where the movement of votes between the two parties is nominal is an important stakeholder. But more importantly, as Sanjeev rightly mentioned, that the Indian American community it contributes about 5 to 6% of U.S. taxes. An average Indian American earns twice as much as an average American in the U.S. So many factors that enables the Indian Americans to really operate from a position of strength is something that will also be a very important part here. And political leadership also has a lot of Indian American strength, as you rightly mentioned. So yeah, I think it's a good time to be an Indian American and participate in the elections there.
Right. So many have called the India-US relationship the relationship of this decade. But when it comes to the economic side of this relationship, we're still a ways way when it comes to an FTA between the two countries. So what do you think is, hindering this? And what do you think is some of the spaces of growth, potential growth in this relationship?
Look, the trade between India and US is still one of the biggest trade corridors for India. It's $100 billion excess of trade between both export and import added up. As we look at the future trade models, and as BCG we project out till 2030 and beyond, we see a few corridors of big growth, and India-US is one of those big corridors of growth. I think one of the things the report calls out is boundless horizons. I deeply believe in the fact that we're just getting started. The possibilities across some of the biggest changes happening in the world, the area of technology and AI, which already we have a great head start on innovation, but also on climate and sustainability is enormous. So I do feel there's a very bright future ahead on this.
And now joining me is Suborno Isaac Bari, who has, at just 12 years of age, has made history as the youngest American student of South Asian descent to graduate from Malvern High School on Long Island. He is now set to attend New York University on a full scholarship, where he will pursue a bachelor's degree in mathematics and physics. Now, first of all, thank you so much, Isaac, for speaking to us. How do you feel after being at, achieving such a feat at just 12 years of age?
It's very amazing. I can't believe that I've been granted this opportunity. I'm so grateful to everyone who made it happen, my parents, my school administration, and especially the people in India who gave me so much publicity and allowed me to get this far. And I think I'd also like to commemorate all the hard work I myself have done to get myself through all of middle school and high school so fast. And it's been a very incredible journey so far, and I can't wait for what lies ahead in college.
Now, you're going to study math and physics, and you've also taught an Indian institute before. What is it like to teaching, older people?
It's an amazing experience. They are much more mature and they can really understand all of the concepts that you're saying and the wording which you say them in, even if you stumble on your words or if you feel like you're not explaining them correctly. And they're so understanding of all of your circumstances. And that's why I really enjoy teaching older students, especially younger students who are the ones who are more hungry for selfies and autographs, the ones who don't listen as much, the ones who make more noise, etc. So really, I've loved teaching older students, and I think that they've been very cooperative. And not only that, but I think lots of them have been enlightened and helped by some of the speeches and lectures that I've given.
Right, and it's an amazing thing that you have done. And how does a 12-year with a workload of a 20-year-old go about his day? How do you spend your time outside of academic work?
I've loved having hobbies, especially chess, badminton, biking, etc. I've also introduced myself to some new things like piano, but I'm not that good at it yet. I feel like there was so much time for me to spend, and there's so much time for me to spend still, especially since it's summer now. And I'm sure that once my courses start at NYU, I will have a much more hectic schedule. But But I think that I still have lots of time to enjoy myself, 5 or 6 hours a day. And I think that's enough for me because honestly, many people think that I study 9 or 10 hours a day to get good at it. Honestly, I don't, because I don't feel that that's necessary to memorize everything and cram every textbook. I think understanding and having that sense of intuition in your mind is good enough for it to stick in your mind, as long as you practice problems every day, for even 20 or 30 minutes, that's good enough. So I think that that's all you need, and the rest of my time I spend contributing to myself rather than just studying math and science. So I think that it's not necessary to study that much if you actually understand the concepts behind everything.
Well, a very important point made. Exactly. If you know the concept, cracking any situation and any problem will be easy. Thank you so much, Subarna, for joining us and talking to us on NDTV. And with that, we're slipping into a very short break.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
This Independence Day, watch Jai Jawan with me, John Abraham, only on NDTV. Jai Jawan!
ये जोश पे चलते हैं हमारे जवान यहाँ पर, अदरवाइज ऐसी जगहों पे जीवन ही बहुत मुश्किल है.
Landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize